Thanks for tuning into Where You Live. I'm Fallon Wagner, and today we're at Broxburn Vegetables and Cafe just east of Lethbridge. On today's show, we'll be talking with the chef of the cafe here at Broxburn, and then we'll be heading out to the greenhouse. But most importantly, today we're going to be talking about growing your own food. Stay tuned because after the break, we're heading to the cafe. We are now in the cafe part of Broxburn Vegetables and Cafe, and we're joined by the cafe's chef. This is Ed. Thanks for joining us, Ed.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's start off by talking about the wonderful foods that are created in the cafe, and what are kind of the varieties of food that are created here?
It's all locally driven and from scratch cooking. We offer fresh, healthy alternatives to normal fare in a restaurant. We like to showcase what Broxburn has available here, the peppers, the tomatoes, and things like that. And I try and focus that when I make food here. And it has a lot of like Mediterranean influence, Spanish and Italian. So that's kind of what reflects in the cooking.
And you talked about locally grown food. What do you think, in your opinion, is the importance of growing our own food?
Well, it tastes better, number one. If you pick a tomato right now out of the greenhouse and eat it, it's going to taste better than a tomato that's traveled from California. And it's just kind of, for me, the satisfaction of getting something that's artisanal and fresh. But we treat the ingredient with a heck of a lot more respect, because you know where it comes from and you know the work that's gone into it, so that kind of reflects the respect of the ingredient more than anything.
Absolutely. And you talked about a variety of dishes you cook. Do you have a favorite dish that you like to cook up?
Well, it's kind of hard to choose your favorite child, so to speak, but right now I really enjoy the smoked tomato minestrone. And actually our twisted BLT has a lot of Broxburn ingredients, such as our butterleaf lettuce, our tomato roasted peppers, and house-made pickles. So it's a lot of things that we do in-house, and that's what I like about cooking here, is a lot of from-scratch cooking.
Awesome. And are there any challenges to being open year-round and having to cook all year round with locally made ingredients? I mean, we do live in Canada.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But that's the importance of doing things like pickling, fermenting, and things like that. Right now we have sauerkraut that I'm making. We're going to be pickling some beets. I roast peppers all the time to freeze them down so that we can have our pepper soup featured all year round. And just trying to preserve things like they did a couple centuries ago when we didn't have all these modern amenities.
Wow, that's awesome. I like that, kind of planning ahead always.
Absolutely. That's the major challenge, is having that plan in place. And you have to have that when you do have those ingredients available to you, right? You can't think of this now. You have to think of this in August, sorry.
That's great. And what actually made you want to become a chef originally?
Actually, I went down to New Zealand for a trip, and one of the first jobs I got was cooking in a kitchen and just kind of talking to the chef there. He gave me a lot of inspiration of cooking and traveling and having kind of a more worldly mindset when it came to food, and understanding what it takes to actually take food from its natural state and put it on the plate. So that's when I really started to think about it.
Awesome. And it's probably interesting just to see how people cook and how people experience food around the world.
Absolutely. It's the one thing that literally binds us around the world, is that everybody has food, and you go to a different region even within Canada or in North America, you're going to find different culinary styles, different ingredients to use, and as a chef you get inspiration from that. You might not think of it as, well, I'm going to take this and move it over here. It's like, oh, I like that method, or I like that ingredient, and that's what you do. All the successful chefs that I know have always cherry-picked good ideas from experiences that they've had, either positive or negative.
So then would you say the process of being a chef is always growing, always learning and experiencing new things?
Absolutely. I've been cooking for just about 10 years, over 10 years, and the most successful chefs that I've ever cooked under have always said, I'm still learning, right? So for me, that's very humbling that chefs of 20, 30 years say that they're still learning and they're still innovating their food. Kind of inspires me to do the same and try and branch out and do things outside of my comfort zone.
That's awesome. I love that. What's your favorite part of the job, would you say?
I think my favorite part of the job is taking a task and following it through to its completion. Like I talked about the sauerkraut, it's fun that you shred all the cabbage and you get your brine going and you get your ingredients, and then you just sit and wait, and that 3 weeks later when you test that product, you're like, yes, that like perfect taste and perfect texture and everything like that. And that's what I like, is giving the ingredients proper respect.
And that's so great. And I think a lot of people are a little bit intimidated by the idea of making home-cooked meals, and it's easier just to go out. But what would you say about families making home-cooked meals and the process about that it maybe can be easy?
Well, I would definitely say it can be easy. Obviously, I say that from a chef's perspective. But the one thing that I've learned over the years is that cooking doesn't have to be hard, and especially when you do have good ingredients. You don't have to do 20 different things to it. You just have to do that one simple, good technique and put it on the plate. I mean, we have a BLT, like I said. It's very simple, but it's really good because of the process involved. So I can understand a family has, time, like it's a time crunch, but by the same breath, it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be very simple, but very good.
That's great advice. What are your winter hours for the cafe?
The cafe is open year-round. We close in October Mondays, so we're closed Sunday Mondays in October until April. We're open 10 to 4 for pie and coffee and 11 till 3 for lunch.
Awesome. Lots of opportunities then for people to come out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and you changed to spring hours, is that right, in the spring? Yeah,
we get really busy in the summertime, and that changes in April. We back open on Mondays. We're never open on Sundays, and it just turns into a bit of a zoo. But it's good, it's fun, it's a little bit of a rush, that's part of the job of having a lot of people in that want to eat, and you want to give everybody the same experience, and that's where the challenge lies in the summertime.
Yeah, lots of work then coming up, so you'll have maybe a moment's rest in the winter.
Well, now's the time to plan ahead, and that's part of the job is always planning. You got to be thinking about your next step. So that's what Paul and I are going to be doing in the fall and the winter time here, is coming up with a good plan for next summer.
Awesome, that's great. Is there anything else you want to add, Ed, that I didn't touch on today?
No, I think you covered all the bases.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Not a problem. Enjoyed my time.
Absolutely. And we'll be heading out to the greenhouse right after this. We're now out in the greenhouse, joined by Paul, and behind us are some beautiful tomatoes that'll be being picked tomorrow. Thanks for joining us, Paul. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we were just in the cafe, but for people who might not know, what is Broxburn Vegetables and Cafe?
So Broxburn Vegetables is a farm that's about 5 kilometers east of Lethbridge. We grow a lot of different vegetables in the greenhouse and outdoors, and the cafe is something that we added later where we use some of those vegetables and you can get some wholesome foods.
Awesome. And how long have you been operating?
We bought the farm in 94, and the purpose was to start a U-pick operation. And then in 95 we started the U-pick and the market garden, and then slowly but surely we added some greenhouses.
Now, where did the idea come to start this U-pick farm and eventually the greenhouses and so on?
I was born and raised on a farm, even though at the time when I bought the farm, I was not working as a farmer, but it's in your blood, it's a lifestyle choice. So I wanted to do the U-pick, that really was in my mind, and location was everything when we bought this place, location.
Awesome. Now, are there any challenges you find with growing vegetables and produce here in Canada?
Well, particularly in Alberta, we have a harsh climate, so the growing season is short and we have some extremes. Like this summer we had some hot weather that if it wasn't for the wonderful irrigation that we have here, we wouldn't have much of a crop at all. And the other challenge is the cheap imports from Mexico and the south.
And do you find you're always kind of learning like new techniques, new ways to deal with the weather, anything like that?
Absolutely. We're never done learning. We learn something new almost every day. And as the climate changes, there's some techniques that may need to change, or a different variety because of the heat in the greenhouse. So these things do come into play.
What do you love about your job?
Well, like I said, farming is in your blood. What we do here, we grow, but I also do a lot of selling. So I talk to a lot of chefs that buy our stuff in restaurants in Calgary and surrounding areas. Also people at the farmers market. So I really get to connect with the end consumer, and they give you the feedback. So you have some more intrinsic value when they say, I love your tomatoes.
That's awesome. Speaking of tomatoes, what sort of things do you grow here in the greenhouse? I mean, it's pretty big. I don't know if people at home can see, but it's pretty vast here.
So we grow a lot of different things, and the reason is because we're focused on retail. So if we were more focused on wholesale, I would be way better off to grow one variety and focus. But what we do, we grow a lot of peppers, red, yellow, orange. Of course, every green pepper is an unripe pepper. We also grow some hot peppers and banana peppers. And then in the tomato greenhouse, we have about 10 different kinds of tomatoes, from beefsteak to cherry, different colors, so that we have a nice selection at the farmers markets. And we have got cucumbers, beans, eggplant, lettuce, and some herbs.
Now, maybe people don't exactly understand, I know I don't exactly understand the process, but how does the greenhouse work, especially greenhouses of this size?
So this greenhouse is heated and it's designed to go year round. So we generally plant the first week of January. Because we don't like spraying chemicals, we want to use biological control, we need to be completely empty. It's very, very important that there's nothing left over, carry over from the previous crop. So we plant in January. Some of the crops grow incredibly fast, so within a month we are picking mini cucumbers, but it'll take till end of March, beginning of April to pick the peppers. But everything is planted that first week of January, and then depending on the speed of each crop, they come on, and it goes all the way till December, and then we clean out the crop, clean out the greenhouse, sanitize, and start over.
Oh my gosh, so it's not a normal growing season for what you would think. You know, January people aren't usually thinking of growing, but for you guys, you're getting in the growing mindset.
Absolutely, and the springtime is the most beautiful time. When you see those small plants grow fast and they make flowers and they make fruit, so it's very pretty. In April, May, you see things come to fruition.
And what does maintenance of the greenhouse look like?
So this greenhouse has got plastic on the roof, so we just finished replacing the plastic every 5 to 7 years. So because of the wind, it's very, very critical that the plastic roofs are in a good condition. And then there's smaller things that need maintenance that every year we look, once we clean out, we sanitize and look at everything that needs fixing. But the boiler system is very important. It keeps going in the wintertime, and in the summertime it's very important that the plants get water.
Absolutely. And we mentioned, we've talked about growing outside and in the summer. What sorts of things do you grow in the summer outside?
So we grow about 30 to 40 acres of fruit and vegetables outside. So as we started as a U-pick strawberry farm, strawberry is still a big part of what we do, and raspberries. So those are the two things that are meant for U-pick. Then we grow onions, cauliflower, broccoli, cabbage, pumpkins, some squash. So a variety of different things we grow outside, but the main focus in terms of the quantities would be broccoli and cauliflower.
And how do you prepare for the winter months? We did talk about this a little bit, but what sorts of things is your staff doing right now to prepare for the upcoming winter? Okay,
so we prepare a number of things for the cafe. Like strawberries, we pick a lot of extra strawberries, we clean them and put them in the freezer. Peppers, once the pepper crop comes out, people want to come out for the roasted red pepper soup, so we put a lot of peppers. We roast them first, and then we peel them and freeze them, so all winter long people can come and have the pepper soup that we're known for. So those are things that we prepare for the winter months, so that we kind of carry on with some of the stuff we grow. Other things in terms of growing, this is the time where the plants are topped, so we don't allow them to grow any further, but whatever is on the plant now can mature, and then hopefully it's done harvesting by December.
And I was going to ask you what your growing season was, but it sounds like your growing season is really all year round.
Pretty much. We're empty for a short period of time. Of course, the field crops, I was still plowing early this morning, so we're trying to get everything ready for winter because it's coming soon. So then we can't do anything anymore. But as a matter of fact, we still picked strawberries today.
That's southern Alberta for you, I guess, hey? Yep. That's awesome. And you're a great example of this, but what do you think the importance is of growing your own food?
Okay, so people that grow their own food have an appreciation of what it takes. So if you have a garden and you want to dabble with it, it's first of all a great experience between parents and children. but also what it takes to grow it. Like when you go to the grocery store, you pick everything up, it may look really easy, but try to grow some cauliflower in your garden and find out what it takes. And I think the people that do grow their own stuff have more appreciation. Some things grow very easy, so I grow onions. They're not that hard to grow, but there's other crops that if you don't do crop maintenance on them, you won't have a crop.
And do you think people are intimidated by the idea of growing food? Like, do you think a lot of people don't know how easy it can be to, say, grow some kinds of onions?
The climate isn't always our friend here, so that may be a reason why people could be intimidated, but a lot of people still grow flowers, even though the season is short. There's definitely some vegetables that can grow very well, but you need to pick the right varieties that do well in this climate. So that's, I think, very important. The same for the greenhouse. The tomatoes you grow in your garden would be different than the tomatoes I grow in the greenhouse.
That's good to keep in mind. Good to keep in mind if you're growing outside. And you hold a couple events throughout the year at Broxburn. What are those events? And maybe you can talk a little bit about what they do for the community.
So we do 3 events. One of them is like for antique tractors in the end of June. That's for one-cylinder tractors. I have a passion for them and a bunch of friends, so it's not a big event, but we drive them through Lethbridge. And then we do the Strawberry Festival, and the key to that is that a lot of people, they're familiar with strawberries and they call them Juneberries, so from Eastern Ontario, and so they don't understand that it's quite normal for us to have strawberries in September. Actually, they're the best berries. So the Strawberry Festival points out to people there's still great strawberries out here because we grow ever-bearing strawberries. And then there's the Pig and Pumpkin. That's a fundraiser for the Lions Club, and they make quite a event out of it, and it's geared for smaller children, but a lot of parents come with their children, have a lot of fun. If there's berries, they pick berries. There's hay rides and pumpkins that we shoot, but again, it shows the people there's a farm very close to Lethbridge where you can have some good times, and it's for a good cause.
And do you think people are sometimes surprised with all that you offer out here when they come out?
I think so. I mean, I hear more than once, we never knew you were there, which is still an opportunity for us to bring people out to the farm and enjoy it. Just to be out here, pick some berries on a nice day with your kids. It's very relaxing. Nobody is telling you to hurry up or whatever. It doesn't matter how long it takes to pick your own pail. It's entirely up to you. And if you want, you can sit for coffee and pie or have lunch. It's just a relaxing experience. That's what we're trying to sell here.
That's great. And you're talking about U-Pick and that you offer U-Pick here at Broxburn. When can people come and do that, and to keep in mind for next year?
So usually the strawberries, like because we don't do the Juneberries, we do the everberries. They start in July sometime, but occasionally the berries they stop, and that's due to the extremely hot weather. They don't set flowers, so there's some periods where there's not as many berries. But then usually in August they come back, and in August, September, October there's lots of berries, depending on the weather. But August, September are the key months for strawberries.
And we talked about growing your own food and how important that is to learn where your food comes from. Do you think opportunities like U-Pick is a great way for kids to learn about the process of food growing and how food can grow right on their doorstep?
Absolutely. There's so many people that live in the big cities. They don't really get out of the city, so places like this is a great way of taking your kids out to the farm and showing them a little bit as a parent what happens on the farm. And obviously we can't show everything. Some people ask for goats and animals, and they don't go really well with the cafe idea. It attracts more flies than we would like, but there's so many things that kids can learn about farms, and the best way is just going out to a farm, and there's different farms that do similar things than what we do, open to the public, where parents can go with their children.
So wonderful. And when can people come to the produce store and pick up some of their produce some of your produce for themselves?
So the little store that we have here, we close at the end of October, and then open again the 1st of May. But in the other months, the off-season months, it be sold at the cafe, so you can still buy tomatoes in the cafe till, let's say, the end of December. It's just not viable to have the little store open, but people can still come and buy. So we're closed always on Sundays, and in the winter months on Sunday and Monday. But the produce will be, whatever we have will be available either through the cafe or the store.
And you mentioned this earlier, but your produce is actually sent to places around the province, is that right?
That's correct. We sell a lot of produce to restaurants, so whatever is serviced through Calgary. So we go as far as Red Deer, Golden, Fernie, and south of the border. So any restaurant that wants has to contact me, and then we have a distributor picking it up on my farm and bring it to the restaurant.
That's so great. It's so great that that it's spreading and the word is getting out.
Absolutely.
And where can people find you once again? You did mention that earlier, Paul, but just in case, where again can people come and find you?
So we're 5 kilometers east of Lethbridge. So if you go on Highway 3, you'll see a sign that says Broxburn Vegetables and Cafe, and we chose the name because it was called Broxburn Road, and that comes back to, there used to be an elevator, it was called the Broxburn Elevator, but it burned down, I believe, in the 70s, but the road is called Broxburn Road. So it's not that hard. Between Lethbridge and Coaldale, there is only one traffic light and you turn right. So we're very close to town, no gravel roads, so sometimes people don't want to get their car dirty, so that's the advantage of being so close to town on a paved road as well.
Awesome. And can people find you online?
Absolutely. So our website is www.broxburn-vegetables.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Paul, for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming out.
We'll be back at the Broxburn Vegetables and Cafe right after this. That'll do it for this edition of Where You Live from Broxburn Vegetables and Cafe. As Paul mentioned, you can check them out online or come and visit them yourselves just east of Lethbridge. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Where You Live.